Your life is a lie. His name was Jerome Harris, and he always started his mornings the same way. Same mirror, same razor, same bathroom light humming above him like an old fridge. He liked routine. It made him feel safe. But that morning, when Jerome looked up from the sink, he didn't see himself. Not exactly. The man in the mirror looked like him. Same brown skin, same neat haircut, same scar under the chin. But his expression was off. He looked tired. Older, maybe. Like he'd been awake for days. Jerome blinked. The reflection didn't. He laughed quietly. Man, I need more sleep. When he turned off the light, the reflection's face moved a half-second late. He froze. The sound of the fridge humming in the kitchen calmed him a little. The smell of coffee brewing reminded him this was normal life. Work, rent, bills. Nothing strange about it. Still, when he walked down the hall to his bedroom, something small gnawed at him. The pictures on the wall were wrong. One frame showed him at his graduation, except the woman next to him wasn't his mother. Another showed him holding a baby he didn't recognize. He rubbed his eyes, looked again, and the photo was back to normal. His real mother. No baby. He told himself he was imagining things. Then his phone buzzed on the counter. A text from an unknown number. "You're awake again." He stared at it, confused. Another text came in seconds later. "Don't move anything this time." The lights flickered. Jerome dropped his phone, heart pounding, and backed away from the counter. From the hallway mirror, his reflection smiled. He hadn't. Jerome stood there, staring at his reflection, waiting for it to stop smiling. It didn't. He tried to steady his breathing, to convince himself it was a trick of the light. Maybe his mind was just tired. Long week, too much overtime, not enough sleep. He turned away from the mirror and grabbed his jacket, deciding he'd head out early for work. But when he opened the closet door, something was wrong. His clothes weren't there. Not gone. Different. Instead of his pressed shirts and jeans, the hangers held suits he didn't own, the kind rich men wore on television. A faint cologne filled the air, sharp and chemical. Jerome stepped back. His voice came out low. "Whose stuff is this?" Then he noticed it. A movement in the living room. Someone sitting on his couch. He froze. The man wore one of the suits from the closet. His skin tone was the same as Jerome's, his hands the same size, but his face was turned away. "Hey!" Jerome shouted. The man didn't react. Jerome took a slow step closer. "You need to leave my place right now." The man stood, turned. Jerome's breath caught. It was him. Same eyes, same scar, but colder, cleaner. The kind of version that belonged on those glossy photos on the wall. The other Jerome spoke first. "You shouldn't be here." "What are you talking about?" Jerome said, his throat dry. "This is my home." The copy tilted his head, studying him. "They said they deleted this one." "Guess not." Jerome felt his stomach twist. Deleted. The other man stepped closer. "You think you've been living, Jerome? You think you got a life, a past, a mother?" Jerome stumbled backward, shaking his head. "Stop." "They built you," the man said softly, "and they forgot to shut you off." The room flickered like a bad signal. The lights dimmed, the air crackled. Jerome blinked, and the other version of him was gone. The only sound left was the phone buzzing again on the counter. A new message. Don't look for him. He's the real one. Jerome didn't pick up the phone this time. He couldn't. His hands were trembling too hard. He walked to the window instead, needing something normal. Sky, traffic, noise. But outside looked wrong. The street was there, the cars were there, but they moved too smoothly, gliding like toys pulled on invisible strings. He whispered, "What is this?" His breath fogged the glass, but when he wiped it clear, the fog stayed on the outside. Then the lights in the apartment flickered again. Only this time, so did the world beyond the glass. Every car, every person, every shadow blinked like a paused video trying to catch up. He stepped back. The flicker passed. The city went still. Jerome's heartbeat thundered in his ears. He grabbed his jacket, determined to leave, no matter what. He needed air, people, reality. But when he opened the front door, the hallway wasn't there. Just blackness, stretching forward like a long, empty tunnel. From that tunnel came the faint sound of whispering. Not one voice, hundreds. He closed the door fast and locked it. He tried to think. He had a job, co-workers, a bank account. People knew him. He wasn't... The phone buzzed again. He looked at the screen. It didn't show a number anymore, just his own name as the contact. Jerome, you. Another message appeared underneath. Step out again, and you'll lose the rest. He swallowed hard, trying to breathe. I'm dreaming, he said out loud. I'm sick, that's all. Maybe a stroke or something. The TV flicked on by itself. Static filled the room, humming low and steady. Then the static cleared. On the screen was a home video. His living room, from an angle that didn't exist. He saw himself pacing, sweating, shaking. Only he wasn't moving right now. The video showed him 10 seconds ahead. On the screen, Jerome looked up and said, I told you not to look. And then, right there, in his apartment, the TV Jerome smiled, reached toward the camera, and the glass of the TV rippled like water. Jerome's reflection on the screen blinked, but he didn't. Jerome fell backward as the screen pulsed again, like it wanted to breathe. The static folded over itself, whispering in broken words. You're off loop. He crawled away, his knees scraping the rug. The room smelled of metal and burnt plastic. The light above him buzzed in short bursts, white, dark, white again, like someone flicking a switch from another world. He yanked the plug from the TV. The screen went black, but a faint gray outline stayed glowing, slow and wet-looking, shaped like a handprint. He stared at it. The handprint was his. Jerome's chest heaved. He turned to the mirror by the door, hoping to see his own face for reassurance. But the man inside wasn't moving. He watched himself stand there, one heartbeat late. The reflection blinked slowly, then opened its mouth. Stop pretending, Jerome. Jerome whispered, Pretending what? You were supposed to be a test run. The mirror rippled, the glass bending as though something behind it shifted closer. The reflection stepped forward, 1 foot through the glass, dripping a black, oily liquid that hissed when it touched the floor. Jerome backed up, bumping into the table. His phone vibrated again, lighting up with a new message. He's awake. Do not resist. The other Jerome pulled fully out of the mirror now. Same face, same scar, but sharper somehow, edges cleaner, eyes too steady. He spoke softly. They watch us to see which one behaves better, which one lives more real, but only one can stay. Jerome shook his head. You're not real. None of this is. The other smiled. That's what the last one said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded photograph. Jerome could barely recognize it, but it was his apartment, except older, emptier. The man in it was him, sitting on the couch, face frozen in mid-scream. I erased him, the other Jerome said. Now it's your turn. The lights burst, a sound like bones snapping, and the room plunged into shadow. When the light flickered back, Jerome was alone. Only the mirror remained, its surface alive and wet, whispering faintly. Round 3. Jerome's apartment no longer felt like his own. The air was thick, almost humming, as if 1,000 unseen wires hung around him. Every sound seemed stretched. The creak of the floorboards, the soft buzz of electricity, even his heartbeat echoing in the walls. He sat on the couch and stared at the mirror. The surface shimmered faintly like it was holding its breath. I'm not playing your game, he said to the empty room. The mirror didn't answer. Instead, the static from the unplugged TV crackled again. White noise spilled out, soft at first, then swelling into something almost like speech. Words formed inside the sound, slow and deliberate. We are the cut. Jerome leaned forward, hands gripping his knees. The what? The cut between you. The TV blinked once, and the screen showed an image of his apartment, only not exactly his. Everything was reversed, mirrored. The couch was on the other side, the photos hung backward. And sitting there, facing the screen, was him. His double looked tired now, drained. His skin was pale, gray around the eyes. He raised his head, and the sound from the TV synced perfectly with his voice. You're making it worse, Jerome. Every time you resist, we both slip. Jerome stood up, shaking his head. I don't understand. The copy smiled weakly. That's the point. You're not supposed to. Then the copy reached out. Through the screen. The glass bulged like a heartbeat, and static poured across the room, filling the air with tiny sparks. Jerome stumbled backward, covering his face. The air sizzled against his skin. The copy's hand kept coming. Long, thin, flickering between flesh and static, reaching for him. He grabbed a lamp and swung it hard. The TV shattered, spraying shards across the floor. The hand vanished. For a moment, everything went dead silent. Then his phone buzzed. He didn't want to look but couldn't stop himself. Good work. That one's done. Now fix yourself. Jerome dropped the phone, his stomach twisting. The mirror in the hallway rippled again, showing not one reflection, but hundreds. All of him, standing in a line that stretched into darkness, each version whispering the same 2 words in perfect rhythm. Wake up. Jerome couldn't stay inside anymore. The walls pulsed like veins, the air too thick to breathe. He grabbed his keys, if they were even his, and pushed out into the hallway. For a second, everything looked normal. Same beige carpet, same smell of bleach and dust. But when he walked to the elevator, the doors were gone. Just blank wall. He turned toward the stairs. They were there, but wrong. The steps sloped ever so slightly upward, like climbing would take him nowhere. Still, he went down. After maybe 10 flights, the air turned colder. A light flickered below him. He heard someone humming, soft and tuneless, like a lullaby played backward. When he reached the ground floor, the door to the street waited. He pushed through and stopped. The city was empty. Not quiet, empty. Cars sat parked, but there were no drivers. A newspaper drifted by without wind. Every window reflected the same gray sky. He started walking. The sidewalks were lined with stores he didn't remember, all with names that didn't make sense. The Real Market, Version Laundry, Human Time. He looked through a window and saw people inside, moving in perfect rhythm, picking fruit, folding clothes, counting bills. But their faces were blurred, soft like unfinished clay. Jerome backed away slowly. His voice came out in a whisper. "What did you do to me?" A voice answered from behind him. "You keep asking that like you weren't one of us." He turned. A man stood at the corner, tall, dark-skinned, wearing the same gray suit as his reflection. But this one looked almost kind. Jerome's throat tightened. "Who are you?" The man smiled. "You, before the cut." Jerome shook his head. "I don't." "You believed the dream," the man said. "We needed to see what would happen if one of us forgot. If a life built on code could feel guilt, fear, love." Jerome stepped back, trembling. "That's not real." The man's eyes softened. "Neither are you." Behind the suited man, the skyline shimmered. Buildings bending, streets folding inward like paper burning from the edges. "They're deleting this version," the man said quietly. "You were supposed to end a last cycle." Jerome whispered, "Then why am I still here?" "Because you looked in the mirror." The world pulsed. Streetlights flared white. The sky cracked open with static, and everything went dark. When Jerome opened his eyes, the world was silent. Not quiet. Silent. The kind of silence that feels alive. He was lying on his back in the middle of the street. No sky above him, only gray fog swirling like smoke trapped inside glass. The city around him was gone. Just outlines of buildings, hollow and thin, as if sketched in pencil and left unfinished. He sat up slowly. Every motion echoed, but not in sound, in sight. Each move left behind a faint afterimage, another Jerome, frozen in place. He took one step, and the ghost of himself stayed behind. 2 steps, another ghost. Each one looked duller, emptier. He turned back and saw a dozen Jeromes stretching into the fog, each one staring blankly forward. His voice came out shaky. "What are you?" The last one, the nearest duplicate, tilted its head, lips moving slightly out of sync. "We're the copies they forgot to erase." Jerome's heart pounded. "You're not real." "I'm real." The duplicates began whispering in unison, their words rippling through the fog. "That's what we all said." He stumbled backward, bumping into something solid, a wall. But when he turned, he realized it wasn't a wall. It was a massive screen, flickering faintly. On it, his apartment appeared, his couch, his coffee mug. And there, sitting where he'd once sat, was another Jerome, perfectly still, watching the screen from the other side. Jerome pressed his palm to the surface. The other did the same. "Who are you?" Jerome asked. The man behind the glass smiled faintly. "The one they kept." Static burst around the edges of the screen. Images flashed: a hospital room, a newborn crying, a man signing papers, a woman laughing. Moments from Jerome's life, except every face was blurred, pixelated, wrong. "None of that happened," the other Jerome said softly. "They just wrote it down." Jerome's throat felt dry. "Then why do I remember it?" "Because you were the story, not the man." The static grew louder, the screen trembling. "Wait," Jerome said, pressing harder. "Don't erase me." The other Jerome leaned close to the glass, whispering through the rising hum. "I'm not erasing you. I'm uploading you." The screen cracked like thunder. The light swallowed him whole. He woke up in a chair. Cold metal, no air moving. The light above him buzzed a faint, sick yellow. When Jerome tried to stand, the restraints pulled tight around his arms. A hum pressed in from all directions, low and steady, like a giant machine breathing. Rows of monitors surrounded him. Each one showed a room, a life, a person going through motions, waking up, eating breakfast, brushing their teeth. All of them looked familiar. All of them looked like him. Jerome whispered, "What is this place?" A voice answered through an unseen speaker, flat and calm. "This is the archive, where the lives are stored." He tried to twist his arms free. "Stored? You mean copied?" "Recorded, observed, rated." The monitors flickered. Each screen showed a small number in the corner, ticking upward with every movement the versions made. "The one that behaves best becomes the real." "Real?" Jerome spat. "You mean the favorite." Silence. Then, "All realities require editing." He felt something cold against his wrist. A small red light blinked under the skin. The hum grew louder, and the air started to taste metallic. He stared at the closest monitor. One version of himself sitting at a desk, staring at a mirror. Another version lying in bed, eyes open but unmoving. Another walking into traffic, the screen cutting to black mid-step. The voice spoke again, closer now. "You've lasted longer than most." Jerome strained against the straps. "Why me?" "Because you looked away from the mirror first. That's when they knew you were ready." He froze. "Ready for what?" "Integration." The lights dimmed, and the room began to tilt. Or maybe he did. The monitors bent inward, the screens melting into light. Each version of him turned its head at once, looking straight at him through the glass. Their eyes glowed faintly, like camera lenses opening. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. His body jerked, not from fear, but from the feeling of something climbing up his spine. Not hands, not wires, just connection. "Don't fight it," the voice said. "You're almost consistent." The last thing Jerome saw before his sight bled white was his own face on every screen whispering together, "Your life was never yours." Jerome's body felt weightless. He tried to open his eyes, but there were no eyelids, no face, just light pressing on light. He heard something like breathing, but it wasn't his. It came from inside the static, deep and endless. Voices moved within it, hundreds of them, each one his own. They overlapped like broken echoes. "We're almost done. Stay still. Don't think too much." They'll see it. Jerome tried to speak, but his words came out as soundless vibrations. His thoughts rippled across the space, forming images: his apartment, his reflection, his mother's smile. Each one flickered, flattened, and folded away. "Data cleaned," said a mechanical voice. "Where am I?" he thought, his panic rising. "Inside the patch," another voice replied. "You were rewritten." The whiteness cracked, and shapes began to form. A street, gray and fogged. His body returned, but lighter, transparent at the edges. The city looked familiar, but stretched, longer somehow, as if each building was trying to lean away from him. Jerome stepped forward. His foot didn't make a sound. Across the street, he saw himself again, dressed differently this time. Neat, smiling, carrying a briefcase. The man crossed the street, walking through Jerome like smoke. Jerome turned. Dozens of people passed him, all with his face, all living different lives. A father, a soldier, a preacher, a thief. Each one glowed faintly under the gray sky. He reached for one. His hand passed through, but he felt something. Recognition, sharp and cold, like being remembered by a stranger. "You're an echo now," a whisper said near his ear. "What does that mean?" "It means they uploaded the memory of you. The original's still out there, living. You're the test copy, running until deletion." Jerome fell to his knees, hands gripping the invisible ground. "Then let me go." The whisper laughed softly. "You don't understand. You are the letting go." He looked up. The sky above him began to pixelate, small squares peeling away like ash. Through the cracks, he saw flashes of light. Screens, wires, faces leaning close, watching. "They're studying the way you break," the voice said gently. And for the first time, Jerome realized he could see his own heartbeat pulsing in the air. Red, stuttering, glitching like a weak signal. The light dimmed until there was only one glow left, a square of pale blue far above him. It pulsed in rhythm with the sound of his breath, as though it were deciding whether to keep him. Jerome stood up slowly. The city had vanished. He was standing in a long, empty corridor lined with mirrors, stretching in both directions until the reflections blurred into infinity. Each pane showed a version of him, some smiling, some crying, some frozen mid-scream. He walked forward. His footsteps didn't echo, but every reflection took a heartbeat longer to move, like time lagging behind him. Halfway down the corridor, one of the mirrors rippled. The Jerome inside turned to face him directly and spoke in his own voice. "They chose." Jerome stopped. "Chose what? Which one keeps living?" His throat tightened. "And which one am I?" The reflection smiled faintly, but its eyes were hollow, flickering with static. Not the real one. The glass began to hum. Behind the reflection, shapes moved. Outlines of people watching, hundreds of them. Their faces just shadows against bright light. He could hear them whispering, the sound sharp as wind through wires. "Test complete. Reset the loop. Erase the false branch." Jerome slammed his fist into the glass. It didn't shatter. It rippled like water. The other Jerome reached out, placing his palm flat against his. The glass turned cold under his skin. "It's better this way," the reflection whispered. "You won't remember that you were never real." Jerome pulled back, shaking his head. "I remember everything. That's the problem. The mirrors around him flickered one by one, each image of himself turning to face him, mouths opening at once. Their voices layered into a single, awful harmony. Your life was a study. Your fear made them believe. Thank you for being human. The corridor began to fold inward. Glass cracked and curled like paper in fire. Jerome ran, but every step felt slower, heavier, as if the air itself had turned solid. When the last mirror shattered, there was only light, blinding, endless, soft. And then, darkness. Somewhere far away, a woman's voice said, "Upload complete. Subject Harris, retired." A computer tone chimed once. Then a door opened, and a man who looked exactly like Jerome stepped out of the light, straightened his suit, and smiled into the camera. "Good morning," he said. "I think I had the strangest dream."
Thank you for listening to The Storyteller's Moon. If this story touched you, scared you, or kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps the stories alive, and I can't wait to share the next one with you under the moonlight. Until then, may your nights be safe and your dreams unforgettable.